guys, welcome back to the channel. It is Brittany here and welcome back to another Halloween Horror Nights video. I'm so excited I got to experience this year. I went opening weekend. If you haven't seen those vlogs, go ahead and watch them. But in this video, I'm just going to be discussing my thoughts on all the houses and give you my ranking because this year was a very stacked year. I do want to say that this will be spoiler free, so don't have to worry. So yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and start my ranking, and we'll also pull up my hype list and just like do back and forth. So yeah. Before we get into this ranking, I do want to just give my initial thoughts on the weekend, and yeah. So this was my second year going opening night, and we actually did not have Express this year. We had Stay and Scream for the first time ever, which was awesome. I will actually do Stay and Scream from here on out. I don't think Express is worth it now because of all the issues they had, and we got through 4 houses opening night before the gates even opened. So yeah. Dr. Arthur as an icon, I thought he was phenomenal, and just knowing his backstory before going to the event and now knowing even more about him makes me appreciate him as icon even more. So yeah, we did get a little bit of a interaction off camera when we went, and yeah, I was just so happy to be back this year, even though it poured the first night, and you will see that if you haven't seen the video yet. So yeah. But let's go ahead and get into these rankings, and yeah. So I'm gonna start with the houses, and keep in mind this is not against any scare actors whatsoever, and yeah, this is just personally what I liked, and yeah. So let's jump right on into it. So number 10, and I hated to put this at number 10 because I really like this one, but not as much as 29. And that was Yeti Campground Kills. I had this at number 7 on my hype list, and yeah. I personally thought the scenery was awesome, and there were so many awesome scares in this house, but there were so many better houses. And yeah, so my number 9 was Exorcist Believer, and I was actually very shocked about this house. We only ran this once and caught almost all the scares, and yeah, so I also had this at number 9 on my hype list. And so my number 8, and I was very surprised that this jumped up as much as it did, and that was The Darkest Deal. I did love the story behind this one. I loved walking through the story, loved seeing the collector, and yeah, so this was actually number 10 on my hype list because I initially thought it was going to be based on The Devil Went Down to Georgia, and it was more of like an original take on that, but it was like slightly based on The Devil Went Down to Georgia, if that makes any sense. My number 7 is Blood Moon Dark Offering, and this was actually number 8 on my hype list. I actually really enjoyed this house after listening to the podcast. This was one that actually scared the absolute hell out of me, so yeah. It was very different. It was more of like Roanoke meets Dead Man's Pier, and yeah, I actually really enjoyed this one. So number 6, and this actually stayed at number 6 for me, and that is The Last of Us. I did only see maybe 3 episodes of the show before going, and my husband's a huge fan of the game, so we had to go through it the night he went with us, and I actually really enjoyed it. It was like you were walking through the game, and the scares were phenomenal in this house. My number 5, and this is Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origins. I really enjoyed this house. It wasn't your typical circus house. It reminded me a bit of Freak Show, American Horror Story Freak Show, when that was at the event a few years ago. and Carnival Graveyard as well. So I mentioned both of those to my best friend as we walked out of the house the night we went. I just really enjoyed seeing Dr. Oddfellow in this. I really enjoyed his story, and just seeing all the little Easter eggs to a certain icon. My number 4, and I do want to mention Dr. Oddfellow was number 4 on my hype list. It's number 5 now on my ranking. Number 4 for me is Dueling Dragons. This actually went up a spot from number 5 on my hype list, and I really enjoyed this house. And there were rumors about there being a dual path, and there actually is. And we went through this one twice. Went through one side one night, the other side the second, and yeah. So I really enjoyed the story behind this house, listening to the podcast, and just walking through it because there were so many big sets. It was like when you walk through one room you got a big facade, and the next room you got a bigger facade. It was phenomenal. I really enjoyed all of Universal's hard work going into this house, and yeah, it's nothing like I've seen before going to the event, and I've been going for, this was my 6th year. So yeah. Number 3, and I do want to say before I go into my top 3, these did not change at all from my hype list. And my number 3 is Universal Monsters Unmasked, and I really enjoyed this house. It felt like it was the longest house I had been through at the event this year, and I just enjoyed seeing all the monsters. I do want to say this was better than Legends Collide, but yeah, I really enjoyed this better than Legends Collide, and it was scarier. There's a certain scare towards the end of the house that about made me drop to the floor, which if you've been through the house already, you know which one that is. And yeah, I enjoy seeing all the monsters in this house. I knew of them going into the event, I just didn't know exactly what their stories were. So my number 2 is Chucky Ultimate Kill Count, and I enjoyed this so much. As a fan of the show and the movies, it was like walking through, so this house is actually split. So you have like the fun part of the house, and then you have like the twisted side of the house, and both parts actually had some from the show, which was great. I really enjoyed this one. I thought this was a lot of fun to walk through. It was bright, it was colorful. My brother, when he went through it, really enjoyed it. My husband enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure my best friend enjoyed it. I know within the last few days this one's been getting a lot of hate online, and I can see that, honestly, if you got in a bad run through. But when we went both times, we had an amazing run through of it. Got a lot of the scares, and yeah. So my number 1, and this is no surprise because I love the show, and that is Stranger Things 4. This was my number 1. I really enjoyed this. It actually made me emotional walking through and hearing the music again and just seeing all the sets. There were some really big sets in this house, and there was one particular scene I was wanting to see in this house, which they did well, but I have some stipulations about that exact scene. But I understand why they couldn't do it the exact way from the show. I just really enjoyed walking through Vecna's story, and who knows, maybe we'll get Stranger Things 4 but in like a different way again. Because I would love to see the different stories from season 4 because there's so much material. So my scare zones list, and to be fair, this actually did not change from my hype list at all, so I'm gonna run through them briefly. So Shipyard 32 was my number 5, and I liked walking through it. I just didn't spend a lot of time in this zone because it's in San Francisco and it's really like crowded. So yeah, so my number 4 is Jungle Doom, and I really liked the creatures in the zone and just seeing Dr. Oddfellow. We did catch a glimpse of his little stage show in this scare zone, which was really cool. So my number 3 is Dr. Oddfellow's Collection of Horror, and this was a lot better than I thought it was gonna be going into the event. I thought it was just like a table of contents for the year, And it actually wasn't really that. It was more of like parts of his carnival coming to life. My number 2, and we did not get to really walk through this one the first night because of the torrential rain that happened. But we did get to get some interactions night 2, which were awesome. And let me just say, the vamps in this zone were very sassy. We had one that was just awesome to talk to and really interacted with that. They really held their roles in this zone, which I thought was awesome. And I missed this zone a lot already, and it's only not even been a week. So my number 1 was Dark Zodiac, and this was a lot different than I thought it was gonna be, honestly. Spent a lot of time in this zone, and there's a reason for that, because there were lots of places to sit down and just people watch. I did like seeing the people with the scare actors with the chainsaws go after a lot of people. Scared the hell out of a lot of people, including me. They got me off guard once, and it is in the vlog from this week, and if you want to go see it and see me get scared. So yeah, but anyways, that is this review for you guys. I really enjoyed this year. It was one of the better years, and this was actually my first Icon year, and it lived up to the hype, and I absolutely cannot wait to see how this event evolves this year and just see everybody's reactions to it. So yeah, with that being said, guys, I will see you guys in the next one, and I will see you guys in the vlog again next year. Bye, guys.